You ever get that feeling? I'm not talking about just a bad day. I mean that deep, quiet, unsettling hum that runs just beneath the surface of everything. It's like a weird radio frequency that's always on, whispering that you're just an actor, playing a role in the grand movie of your own life. Seriously, let's be honest with each other, just for a minute. This whole big production you call your life, with all its carefully planned scenes, its memorized lines, its perfect costumes, did you ever actually sit down and choose the script? Or did you, like me for so long, just wake up one day and find yourself on a moving train? Everyone else seemed to have their tickets and know their destination, so you just nodded along, pretending you knew yours, too. It's wild, isn't it? Just take a real look at yourself. I mean, a deep, unflinching look. The non-stop busyness, that heavy cloak of seriousness we wear, the constant pressure to be proper. Man, I perfected that art. I could have won an award for most stable, functional, and coherent human. It was a masterpiece of survival. But deep down, in that quiet place in your soul, after the noise of the day fades and the applause, real or imagined, dies down, you know something is just off. It's not a loud alarm, but a silent suspicion that follows you around like a shadow. It's that unspoken question that hangs in the air right before sleep finally takes you. It's the hollow, empty feeling you get right after you achieve a goal, that split second before your mind scrambles to find the next mountain to climb. It's that gnawing ache of emptiness behind your proudest moments, the ones that are supposed to feel like everything. My friend, that feeling isn't you failing. That's a divine tremor. It's a signal from your higher self, a vibration telling you it's time to wake up. If any of this is making your soul vibrate, just know you're not going crazy, and you are not alone. If you feel me, just drop a comment below that says, I am not alone. Let's create a space where we can see each other, a place for all the souls who are just starting to hear this new, strange, beautiful music. Your awakening is happening, and it is seen here. This grand deception, it's so old and so deeply woven into us that we've mistaken it for the ultimate truth. It started when we were kids, didn't it? We were trained lovingly, sure, but insidiously to follow a rule book we never got to read. Invisible rules, written by the ghosts of generations past and etched into the very air we breathe. Smile, even when your heart is breaking. Be quiet, even when your soul is screaming to be heard. Sit up straight, they'd say, just as your spirit was begging to leap up and dance in the rain. They handed us a map, a pre-packaged, laminated roadmap to a place they all called success. It was supposed to be our destiny. Study hard, check the boxes. Get the right degree, not the one that sets your heart on fire. Find the secure job, the one with the good benefits, and chain your spirit to a desk. Save your money, hoard it for a future you're not even sure you want. Get married by a certain age, have the 2.5 kids, buy the big house and fill it with expensive things. All these shiny distractions meant to plug the growing hole in your soul and prove to everyone, and most of all to yourself, that it all makes sense. But does it? I mean, really, does any of it truly make sense to you? If this was the divine blueprint for your life, the sacred path your soul chose, why does every step you take toward that promised land feel more hollow? Why do you feel more disconnected, more like a stranger in your own skin, more artificial with every achievement? Why do you find yourself on a stage you never auditioned for, reciting lines that taste like ash in your mouth, words that have absolutely no meaning for your heart? And be honest, in those quiet, unguarded moments late at night, when the house is still and everyone else is asleep, have you ever secretly wished for it all to just collapse? I have. It's a quiet, terrifying, but exhilarating desire for the whole set to just come crashing down, for the curtains to fall, so you could finally start over from a place of absolute, raw truth. That feeling isn't a flaw in your design. It's a sacred invitation from the universe. And here's the thing, there's a profound truth they never told us. It's a piece of wisdom you won't find in any textbook, but your soul, your higher self, has been whispering it to you your whole life. I promise you, once you truly hear it, once you let it land, You can never go back to being asleep. It's like a switch flips, and you suddenly start seeing the world through entirely new eyes, awakened eyes. You start to see the game, and you see it being played everywhere. You see it in the way people chain themselves to the most absurd, meaningless worries, their energy tangled up in things that don't matter. You see it in the quiet, desperate anguish they carry as they cling to their designated roles, the good son, the perfect mother, the successful executive. You see it in the ridiculous, puffed-up gravity they assign to their own little dramas, as if the entire universe were sitting on a cosmic throne, meticulously evaluating their every move. Seriously, most people live their lives as if it's one long, stressful final exam, a test with only one right answer, and they are terrified of failing. But it isn't. You have to understand this. Life isn't an exam. Remember this, my friend. Write it on your heart. Life is a game, a magnificent, beautiful, brilliantly disguised, and often utterly perplexing game. And you want to know the most twisted part of it all? For the longest time, I didn't even know I was a player. I was absolutely convinced I was just a pawn, a helpless piece being moved around a board by forces far beyond my control. Sound familiar? This is where the illusion gets really insidious, where the conditioning sinks its teeth in. They've managed to convince us that the only way to win this game is to be taken seriously. They taught us that our value, our worth, our very right to be respected, is earned only through a heavy, furrowed brow, a stoic and emotionless face, a vocabulary of complicated, important-sounding words, and the crushing weight of that heavy armor we call responsibility. They whispered it to us in our cradles. Growing up means the death of play. It means silencing your laughter. It means putting your wild inner dancer in a cage and throwing away the key. Can you feel the sheer magnitude of that cosmic theft? They literally taught us that being a functional adult means becoming predictable, that our glorious, innate freedom is something dangerous, something to be controlled, that our divine, beautiful spontaneity is just a sign of immaturity. And you know what the most heartbreaking part is? We believed them. I know I did. I became the willing executioner of my own inner child. I smothered that vibrant, mud-playing, stargazing, curious being inside of me so that I could fit my magnificent, multi-dimensional soul into the gray, sterile, one-size-fits-all boxes of offices and obligations. I buried my own light alive, piling on mountains of pending tasks, societal expectations, and all those serious goals. And the result? I found myself wandering through my days like a character in a story who'd completely forgotten their lines, just pretending that this elaborate, painful script had some clear and noble purpose. But it doesn't. And that, my friend, is not the tragedy you think it is. That right there, that is the key to your liberation. You see, life isn't some novel with a neat little plot, a clear beginning, a tidy middle, and a satisfying, closed ending. No, it's a wide-open canvas, a space for constant, breathtaking, moment-to-moment improvisation. It's a divine dance, and the most beautiful part is, there is no pre-written choreography. The real problem isn't the dance itself. It's that most of us, for our whole lives, just keep waiting by the side of the dance floor. We're waiting for someone, a parent, a teacher, a boss, a guru to come over and tell us the steps. We're waiting for some higher authority to validate our moves, to tell us we're doing it right. We're waiting for an audience to applaud us before we even dare to be ourselves. But I have to tell you a truth that might sting a little before it sets you free. No one is coming. No one will ever come to grant you that permission. And you know why? Because everyone else is just as busy as you are, desperately trying to look confident, frantically trying to perfect their own act. Because everyone, and I want you to really listen to this with the ears of your soul, everyone is improvising. Every single person you see is making it up as they go along. The only difference is the frequency they're creating from. Some people improvise from a place of deep, gut-wrenching fear, clinging for dear life to the worn-out script they were given. But others, the ones who are beginning to awaken, they improvise with art. They improvise with courage. They improvise with a divine, undeniable spark in their eyes. Now, it gets even deeper. There's another layer to this, a secret level of the game that's even more perverse, and it's the one they really don't want you to know about. In this inner arena, you're not just supposed to act out your role, you're commanded to compete. You're conditioned to constantly compare yourself, to measure your performance. But against what, exactly? Think about it. You're measuring yourself against a complete and total illusion. You're measuring yourself against the carefully edited, perfectly curated, highlight reel projections of other souls who are just as lost, just as confused, and just as deeply asleep as you have been. You scroll through their staged victories on a screen, the perfect vacations, the flawless families, the effortless success, and you feel the sharp, bitter sting of your own perceived loss. You see them winning this imaginary race, and so you believe, with every fiber of your being, that you are losing. But you're not in the same game. You're not even on the same damn board. So what do? What did I do? You run faster. You smile wider. You fake it better. You exhaust your precious, divine life force trying to win a phantom race against ghosts. And you keep up this frantic, soul-crushing charade until one morning you wake up, you look in the mirror, and the person staring back at you is a complete stranger, a tired stranger with empty eyes. You realize, in a moment of chilling clarity, that you no longer have any idea who you are without the titles, without the achievements, without the masks. You have mistaken your disguise for your true identity. And that, my friend, is the most secure, most cunning, and most invisible prison ever constructed. But here's what you're starting to get, what's dawning on you now. The game only, truly, fundamentally changes when you decide to change the rules. And this sacred rebellion, this quiet revolution of the soul, begins the very moment you stop pretending that winning matters. It begins when you consciously step off the racetrack, when you stop running toward a finish line that simply does not exist. Because I'm telling you, there is no trophy waiting at the end of this journey. There is no podium, there is no final judge with a scorecard. There are only these moments, a beautiful, sacred string of precious, fleeting instances. And you, and only you, have the divine power to fill them with either the heavy, constricting tension of expectation or the light, joyful, expansive energy of play. And now comes the part that might feel a little uncomfortable, the part that's going to ask for all your courage. No one is going to hand you a permission slip to stop suffering. Not a single person in the sleeping world is going to stand up and give you a round of applause for choosing to be free. In fact, it's usually the opposite. When you begin to liberate your own soul, when your light starts to shine a little brighter, others will feel threatened. Your freedom illuminates the bars of their own cages, and that's a tough thing to look at. They won't know what to do with you anymore because you're no longer predictable. You don't fit into their neat, understandable boxes. And your freedom will make them profoundly uncomfortable because it serves as a mirror, reflecting back to them the walls of their own self-imposed prison. And what do people do when they feel threatened? They judge. They will call you immature. They will accuse you of not taking life seriously enough. They'll project all of their fears onto you, dressing them up in noble-sounding virtues like duty and responsibility, as if your own suffering were some kind of holy virtue, as if your rigidity were a form of respect. But it isn't. You have to perceive it for what it truly is. It's just fear, a deep, primal fear of chaos, a terror of uncertainty, a fear of what other people will say, a fear of dancing without a pre-approved musical score. And right there, my friend, in that simple recognition lies the key. Because when you finally learn to live without a score, when you fully and deeply accept that your entire existence is one grand, divine improvisation, when you choose to dance through life instead of marching in lockstep, something inside you finally breaks. It feels like a dam of old, stagnant conditioning just shatters, and something wild, true, and beautiful is set free. You no longer feel that compulsive, anxious need to have everything under your control. You release the exhausting, crushing burden of needing to understand everything. You finally, blessedly, let go of the need to win. You realize you only ever needed one thing, to be, just to be present, to be truly, vibrantly, unapologetically alive. And that is the exact moment the game becomes magical. It's when your entire perception shifts. You start to see the whole world with completely different eyes, the eyes of your higher self. You no longer see enemies, you just see other characters, each playing their own incredibly challenging role. You no longer see failures, you see pivotal chapters in a vast and beautiful story. You no longer see obstacles, you see stages, platforms designed for your own growth and soul expansion. Everything in your external reality changes because you, the one perceiving it, have changed. You've stopped being an obedient, predictable pawn and have finally remembered the glorious truth. You are the player. Now, listen to me. Listen closely, because this is the absolute core of it all. The only real difference between the person who suffers in the game and the person who plays with joy is their level of attachment. That's it. The one who suffers believes that what happens to them, the wins, the losses, the promotions, the rejections, the judgments, defines who they are. Their entire sense of self, their identity, is welded to the outcome of the scene. But the one who plays, the one who is truly awake, understands that everything is just a temporary performance. They know, deep in their bones, that nothing is as permanent or as deadly serious as it seems. They realize that every single experience, every emotion, every challenge that comes their way can be explored, questioned, and ultimately transformed. And this profound understanding, this conscious detachment, it's not some cold, sterile indifference. It is the highest and purest form of wisdom. It is depth without the crushing weight. It is presence without rigidity. To get there, though, you have to be willing to cross a threshold. And let me be straight with you, crossing that threshold is a violent, radical act. But it's a supreme act of love for your true self. It means you have to be willing to let the you that you thought you were completely die. That whole collection of stories, beliefs, wounds, and fears that you've been mistaking for your identity your whole life. It means looking straight into the void, into the great unknown, and not flinching. It means sitting with the profound, heart-pounding discomfort of uncertainty and learning to embrace the magnificent, beautiful absurdity of it all. And yeah, that's scary. That's precisely why so few people dare to take that leap. That's why most people cling desperately to their masks, even as they feel themselves suffocating beneath them. Because letting go feels like jumping into an endless, terrifying abyss. But here's the secret, the one you're now starting to suspect with every fiber of your being. There is no abyss. There is only air. And whoever dares to jump doesn't fall. They learn to flow. And in that state of flow, something absolutely brutal and beautiful happens. You discover this incredible power to act without being attached to expectations. You learn how to love without demanding any guarantees in return. You begin to create directly from your soul, without needing a single drop of external approval. You start to live without feeling the need to provide explanations for your existence. It's like waking up from a lifelong dream and suddenly realizing you were only ever pretending to be bound by gravity in a universe that is designed for floating. And then, a new sound starts to bubble up from within you. You start to laugh. And it's not a laugh of mockery, and it's not a nervous, anxious laugh. It's a deep, belly-shaking, soul-cleansing laugh that erupts from a place inside you that you didn't even know existed. It's a laugh that laughs at nothing in particular, and yet laughs at the sheer, brilliant, cosmic madness of everything even, and especially at yourself. You laugh because you finally understand that what you once called a problem was just a challenging scene in your play. You laugh because you see that what you called failure was just an unexpected plot twist, brilliantly designed to make you stronger and wiser. You realize that this entire, elaborate construction you called your life was, in reality, a divine play, and you were always the author. And then, finally, all that inner resistance you've been carrying for years just dissolves. You stop playing the limited, hand-me-down role you were given at birth, and you pick up the pen. You start writing your own story, your own script, your own magnificent masterpiece. And when you begin to do this with unwavering courage and authentic, unapologetic joy, the entire world around you transforms without you having to move a single inch. It transforms because you have transformed. You have understood. You no longer need everything to make perfect, logical sense. It is more than enough for it to simply be a playground. And here is the craziest, most wonderful part of all. When you accept this truth, when you embrace it, when you really begin to live it, you become dangerously, gloriously free. You are no longer manipulable. You are no longer domesticated. The old fears and the judgments of others can no longer be used as weapons against your soul. Fear loses all its power when you understand that losing doesn't matter and winning means nothing at all. The only thing that truly, deeply counts is how you choose to play. So, my friend, the question is no longer what you will do with your life. The real question is, how are you going to play, starting right now? When you truly begin to play, you'll notice something else, something even more unsettling to the world around you. They are not ready for your freedom. You'll catch them looking at you with a strange mixture of curiosity and fear. They'll watch you as if you are dangerous. And, in the context of their game, you are. You represent the very freedom they secretly yearn for but don't dare to claim for themselves. They can't classify you anymore. And this inability to put you in a neat little box completely destabilizes their fragile reality. Because the world as we know it, the world of the sleeping, rests on a single, shared, unspoken lie. The lie that everything must be taken seriously. The system, the machine, it needs you to be afraid. It needs you to feel shame. It needs you to obey without asking too many questions. But when you no longer seek their approval, when you no longer require their permission to live your own truth, the entire system begins to crack around you. You become a beautiful, divine anomaly, a glitch in the matrix. And through that crack you've created, a new truth begins to slip into the world, an uncomfortable, but ultimately liberating truth. The truth that you can be your authentic self, even if you don't fit what is expected. You can stop trying to fit in and still keep walking your sacred path. You can make mistakes and feel no guilt, only the wisdom that comes from the experience. You can choose a wild, twisted, and divinely improvised path. And that path, precisely because it is uniquely yours, is the most sacred one of all. But this, my friend, is the point where so many turn back. This is the final gate. Because the most challenging moment of the entire journey arrives now, the moment you have to sustain your newfound authenticity in the face of all that collective noise. You must learn to stand firm against those who will call you selfish for finally honoring your own soul. You must be unshakable against those who will accuse you of being irresponsible for letting go of the burdens they still carry. You must find it in your heart to love even those who desperately need you to return to your old emotional cell, just so they can feel comfortable. And it's in this space that an even subtler trap appears, the one no one ever warns you about. You start to play, yes, but deep down, a little part of you is still listening for the applause. You still secretly crave recognition for your bravery. You still want others to look at you and validate your freedom. But listen to me. If your game still depends on the applause of the audience, then you are not truly playing. You are still acting. The true game, the highest and most beautiful game, begins the very moment you understand, with absolute certainty, that you do not need a single witness. So now, take one last, deep breath with me. I mean it. Breathe in deep, because here is where everything becomes infinitely deeper, infinitely more real. What if I told you that even your most intimate, private thoughts, the ones you believe are undeniably yours, are also just a part of the character you've been playing? What if those critical voices in your head, the inner judge that tears you down, the relentless taskmaster that pressures you, the perfectionist that pushes you to the brink of exhaustion, what if they were never really yours to begin with? What if they are simply the internalized echoes of everything you absorbed as a child, from your parents, from your teachers, from your culture, from the entire world? You've been so profoundly shaped by countless external vibrations and opinions that you can no longer distinguish what you truly want from what you were told you should want. You think you know yourself, but you don't. You only know your conditioning. And that, right there, is the next level of this divine game. To unprogram yourself, to unlearn, to bravely question every single impulse, every I have to, every I mustn't, every single time you say, this is just how I am. Because most of the time, who you say you are isn't who you truly are at your core. It's just the role you learned to play to survive in their world. And this is where the most brutal, but also the most rewarding, internal game of all begins. It's the one that's played in the silent, sacred shadows of your own consciousness, a place where there are no spectators, no external guides, and no medals to be won. It is the holy space where you finally, for the first time, meet your true self, without any masks. And let me tell you, at first, that meeting is not always pretty. What often appears first is the raw energy of chaos, a feeling of emptiness, and a profound, shaking doubt. But if you can find the divine courage to just stay there with it, to not flee, to not cover it up with more distractions and more noise, something truly miraculous begins to happen. The very energy of what you once called fear starts to transform into pure, childlike curiosity. What once seemed like insurmountable confusion slowly blossoms into infinite possibility. And what you once felt as crushing, unbearable loneliness reveals itself to be the purest and most beautiful form of freedom. Suddenly, you no longer have to maintain an image. You no longer have to prove anything to anyone, ever again. You can simply be. And from that simple, powerful state of pure being, an authenticity arises from you that is so potent, it needs no explanation. True authenticity doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't justify its existence. It doesn't need to decorate itself for anyone's approval. It simply is. It manifests. And when it appears, all that is false and illusory in your life begins to crumble and fall away around it. That is why your freedom bothers the sleeping world so much. Because when you live without a mask, you become a living, breathing reminder to others that they could do it too. But they don't dare. And right here, in this moment of raw, unapologetic being, the game finally becomes spiritual. I don't mean religious, I mean truly spiritual. It's no longer about chasing external goals, or social validation, or tangible results. It's about a deep, unwavering connection with the present moment, with the feeling of your own body, with the rhythm of your own breath. It is a connection with that eternal, unbreakable part of you that doesn't need to win anything to feel utterly and completely alive. And when you finally settle into that sacred space, you discover a truth that very, very few ever get to understand. There is nothing more revolutionary in this universe than a human being who is fully and joyfully playing. A human who laughs when others tense up. A human who dances when everything seems to be falling apart. A human who improvises when everyone else is blindly following the script. That human being becomes an unbearable, beautiful mirror for others. A mirror that reflects not what they are, but everything they could be, if only they would stop being so afraid. And right there, in that final, breathtaking understanding, when you finally feel completely free, you realize something no one ever told you. Freedom isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a constant, moment-by-moment exercise. It is a choice you must make every single day. The world will never stop inviting you to go back to your old character, to take yourself seriously again, to harden your heart, to put on your disguise. They will always be throwing a party for the masquerade, and it will always be tempting to go back. Very tempting. But you will choose to remain there, holding on to the invisible, playing while everyone else acts, laughing while everyone else pretends, living while everyone else merely survives. And that, my friend, is true mastery. Not escaping the game, but learning to play it with a conscious, open heart. Not destroying the rules, but moving within them with divine grace. Not fleeing from chaos, but dancing with it, like a lucid madman, like a wise sage disguised as a child. Like an unarmed warrior who has finally understood that there is no war to be won, only a theater, only movement, only life. So now, the question is no longer, what will you do with your life? The question is, will you keep acting, or will you finally, truly, begin to play?